Welcome everyone to Couch Potato. I'm your host Mayank Anand, and today the guest of honor on the show is Shankar Chugani. Hello, sir.
Hi, hi, hi.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Uh,
Never thought I'd be a guest of honor on a podcast, but
so,
we'll see.
I never thought I'd get to do a podcast with you so soon. Like, I woke up, I saw my Instagram, and you're like, "Let's do it in 15 minutes." I'm like, "Holy shit!"
Because you said you wanted to have a conversation,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then
yeah.
you said we'll set up a date, and we are living in a time when we've got nothing to do.
That's true. That's true.
We're just waiting around for doing things. So now when we start the day by doing this, I'll feel much better even halfway through the day. If anything happens, I'll be like, I had a conversation with Mayank. So things went okay.
Man. So thank you so much for being here, sir. Means a lot. And I wanted to ask you.
If you,
Let's yeah.
I would like to interrupt you. I'm not one of those guys who doesn't like to be called sir,
Yeah.
but I think after two times it just sounds too
Formal.
like no, it sounds too much out of my awkaat. Like someone who doesn't make enough money or doesn't have property or doesn't have authority over other people or doesn't have anything should not be called sir. I think you should
Okay.
call your teachers sir. I think you should call people who deserve it sir, but only like just addressing them when they come to the like if you're addressing people who are coming to a gathering, you'll be like
Yeah.
welcome sir, and that's it. You can't be like so sir and so sir and so. After a point, you're all like, oh, man, I'm Shanky, so you can call me either Shankar or Shanky.
Okay. Okay. Shankar. So. Shankar, I wanted to ask you about your. Let's start the podcast with your stand-up journey, all right? Because I mean, I saw you the first time I saw you was on like Comicstan, and you were one of my favorite contestants, all right? There was Suri, there was Dua, and then there was you. Okay, like when I'm watching Comicstan, I might do it while doing something else, but when it was you, Nishant Suri or Dua, I would like have my full concentration on screen because you guys were so happening on stage, right? I was like, there's this short guy who's dancing and doing stuff on stage, and that was crazy funny to me. So I was like, damn, really good, you know. So
So, uh, I'd like to tell you about so far the journey is I came to Bangalore in 2010 and I was working in tech support and I used to do the weekend shift, which is Saturday, Sunday, and the graveyard shift, which is 10 to 7
okay,
in the night.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So that work was not as much, but someone had it needed to be on the floor while like during office hours, and you're not allowed to like uh, stream movies or download games or any kind of files, but
yeah.
you have access to the internet uh, extensively.
Okay,
So I started watching stand-up comedy because in college Russell Peters was my favorite
yeah.
uh, stand-up, and I never thought there was an art form called stand-up. I just thought Russell Peters was a one-off thing. Who I thought he was an actor, Indian actor abroad, and he just went on stage and he did this.
Oh,
I discovered Gabriel Iglesias,
uh,
after that Kevin Hart, and then I discovered George Carlin,
okay.
and he literally changed the way I think at that time because there were a couple of his routines that stuck with me, and I started watching them over and over again. I started watching specials. Then I went on Google and I started looking up names of specials,
Yeah,
and I started making a list of stand-up specials that I find online. Just the names.
yeah,
I couldn't find the specials themselves, but just the name would give me satisfaction to like jot them all down.
yeah,
And then I looked for Indian stand-up comedy, and Avish Mathew and Dev Das's videos were online.
yeah. At that time, I think Weird Company was the only one actually doing stand-ups and open mics.
I don't think Weird Ass was even there at that point. I think, even if it was, it wasn't to the extent that
Yeah,
comedy is. right now. I only saw Veergas's one video,
Yeah.
but more than that, I saw Abhish Matthew performing on stage, and I
Mm,
was in awe of just the fact that there's someone doing that. And I looked for open mics or comedy shows in Bangalore,
yeah.
and I found that there are one or two. So I started writing things that I thought were funny, and
Okay.
then I quit my tech support job. I became a copywriter, and I used to go to open mics,
Okay.
and that's been the start. And I have never stopped since. I only keep
Uh,
going to open mics.
so
Anything that happened,
this was in like when was the first time you actually did an open mic? Which year?
2000, 2013, I think.
Wow. Wow.
So 2013, I started going to open mics. I think, but late September, I started going, and I met three, four comedians there
Yeah.
who were very regular to open mics. There was Kannan Gill, there was Viswa Kalyan,
Yeah.
there was
Yeah.
Kenny Sebastian, there was Kelt Shrestha, who
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
this
Yeah. Yeah.
guy,
Yeah. Yeah. I know.
and there was Amar Piran.
Okay.
These were the local groups of comics who would just go to, and at that time there were only two open mics per week.
Yeah.
So we catch up, and since then, as open mics, so Viswa Kannan and Kenny very soon moved to Mumbai, and it was
Yeah.
just the remaining comics. There were other comics who've been doing it for long. There's Sandeep Rao, there was Praveen Kumar, Sanjay Manaktala,
Wow.
uh, there was a guy called Sal Yusuf who did it for a bit, Prithad
Okay.
Srinivasan, Satish Karmar. A whole barrage of about 20 comics who were very regular for about a year and a half, 2 years in stand-up. And
Okay.
then when 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 Kenny Kannan and Biswa now moved to
Yeah.
Mumbai, then there were more open mics that had started,
Yeah.
and there was a point in the middle before 2019 where there was an open mic every single day.
Wow.
So me, Kelt, there are new other bunch of comics. There's Somnath, Anand, guy called Gautam Govindan, Shamik Chakrabarti, Jyotin Patro.
Yeah.
This is a group of comics that just go to open mics and hang out and organize
Wow.
open mics. Some of them. So that's been the journey. Anything other than that has just been something that happened that I got lucky to be on Comicstan or whatever. But the whole journey is just going to open mics
Wow.
almost every day that I'm in Bangalore.
So I think it's been 8 years since you've been doing comedy, right?
7 plus 8 will be in September. We just
Ah,
finished.
yeah. So it has never been exhausting, is it? Like every time you write a set and you perform on stage, it just feels amazing to you. That's how it is. Like, have you ever felt like this is growing old on me? No, right?
No, it's not even growing old. The first 4.5 years
Yeah.
of doing stand up, I was just trying to get laughs
Yeah.
because I wasn't. I'm not even kidding. The first there was a time when Kenny Sebastian was doing an hour in Bangalore. He put
Yeah.
out his first hour.
Yeah.
His long hair and all with a guitar, and Kenny was. I used to be jealous of Kenny because of how good he looks, because of how charming he is, because of how he can play the guitar, and because of how he can handle people approaching him.
Yeah.
So, like, if people come and say, "Hey, you were really funny and good," Kenny will be like, "Thank you so much."
Yeah.
When the first time people came and told me you were really good, I started sweating. I was like, okay, I guess. So, the first 4 years of stand-up, I used to puke each time before they called my name
Oh my
on
God.
stage. I don't know, just nothing. I wouldn't spit
I
my
understand.
would just feel
Yeah. I
this
understand the
nausea
nervousness.
that in my head, I'm like, nobody is going to listen to you. You're not funny. Just go home,
Yeah.
play FIFA. Just play FIFA and you'll be fine. Why are you doing this? But once you try and get your first joke out
Yeah.
and you say anything, it'll be good. There was one thing that happened. The first open mic I did that I remember.
Hmm.
I can see you suppressing a yawn early in the morning, Mayank.
That is because I woke up and I got here as soon as I woke up. It's not because you are boring, don't worry.
No. I don't. It's completely fine. We're sitting on Zoom calls and yawning is pretty thing. I just while I was about to start my story, I could see you going.
As I said, I'm still not up from my sleep totally.
It's not your fault. You were like, when you want, do you want to do this later in the day when you're awake? I was like, no.
Exactly.
I woke up. Let's do this. My first time on stage,
Yeah.
Kanan was in the crowd, and there was a bunch of local comics, and I did
Yeah.
a joke about tech support. And before I start my set, I asked, there was a white lady in the crowd, and I asked her, "Ma'am, have you ever called up tech support?" And she said yes. And then out of nowhere, I just said, "Thank you for calling tech support." And it worked, and people laughed, and that is something that I didn't plan on
Yeah.
saying when I wrote my jokes. And when I got a laugh, it felt like I found like a Mario gold coin out of nowhere, a massive gold coin just came out of the top. It just like, hit on me on my head. So things like that happened to me, and I just kept going to open mics and kept doing
Yeah. Amazing, dude. So, do you also do crowd work now, or is it just shows that you do, like
uh,
written material?
as in I actually don't have uh, as much written out material
Okay.
as I perform on stage. I have a certain number of jokes that I've written for each thought that I've written, but most of it happens while I'm talking on stage.
Yeah.
No, some of it happens while I'm talking on stage.
Yeah.
Crowd work is sometimes like when I told you that you were yawning,
Yeah.
is something that happened right now. So if anything happens while I'm
Yeah.
on stage, talking about it makes more sense rather than avoiding it and just going on with your set.
I get it.
Because it feels weird. It feels like you're talking to a group of people and there's just six mobsters entered the room and left, and you're still talking to the people like nothing happened. So
I think
that's
that's
how.
happened to comics, and they actually stop because of other reasons.
Oh God, really?
Oh man.
Weird times.
Yeah, dude. I mean, right now, as I said, the joke on mobster thing that actually scares me sometimes. I'm a new comic, right? I do open mics. I haven't been able to gather as much encouragement to go to Zoom open mics, but I love live open mics. Like I am a part of the Vizag comedians community, which runs things in Vizag, and I used to do mics every week. Like there used to be 1 to 2 mics every week, and a show per month. That's how we used to go. So, I mean, when I see these controversies happening online, where people are actually facing consequences because of certain jokes, which they don't even mean that. It's just jokes. They just want people to laugh. Obviously, there are comics who avoid that, and they're just like their sets are based on observations, anecdotes, and stuff like that. But there are people who do political comedy. There are people who do dark humor and things like that. So when I see them facing consequences, and then there are mics or shows, where people are like, "Could you come and perform for us?" I'm like, "Okay, when do I have to?" And instead of just telling me the time, they're like, "Okay, you don't have to do any 18 plus jokes, no bad words, no this, no that." I'm like, there are too many conditions for someone to actually think freely and perform in their own way. That's what I think it is. So it sometimes does irk me that the stand-up scene in India, although has evolved so much, it also comes with a lot of restrictions sometimes. If you are not so experienced, if you are experienced, people know you and they let you do whatever you want. But when it's the new comics, I think they face a lot of restrictions nowadays.
But wouldn't you say that is the case with anybody? Like, if someone new
Yeah,
acts in a movie
yeah,
that's a little controversial,
true.
he or she would face more flack than someone who already is an established actor. So
Yeah,
you know that they are acting. Uh, the only thing that I can say about this topic is, uh, I understand that in India we have we have certain topics that is too close to a lot of people's hearts,
Yeah.
regardless of it being something you can talk about on stage.
Yeah.
Uh, it's something that's very close to. So if you have a joke that you think is funny that can go across so many people's hearts, and not to say that it has to be pleasing to everybody,
Yeah.
but if it's such a funny joke that you get a laugh more often than not, then it's something that you're compelled to say.
Yeah.
But also knowing that the larger number of people you touch, for the number of people that like what you're saying, there'll be equal number of people who don't like what you're saying.
Yeah. The risk increases.
And like if out of 50 people, if five people don't like what you're saying,
Yeah.
those five people aren't going to gang up and say, hey, let's go talk to him and tell him what the hell is he talking about.
Yeah.
But it is naive to think that in our country we will have people who take everything to uh, protesting and getting offense,
Yeah. Yeah.
to see that if you talk about something that is this massive, you
Yeah.
will not have enough people who will say what. Having said that, I'm not commenting on any other comedian's take on anything.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
saying
Yeah.
for myself,
I
when I
understand.
talk about something, I talk about something that I know.
Of course.
So
Yeah.
so I don't go out of my way to talk about something that I don't know anything about. Like
Yeah.
political comedy, I don't know any political jokes because I'm only now trying to understand what how politics is in our country, and I have respect for people who understand the politics and then do jokes about it
Yeah.
rather than saying things that get the laugh on shock value.
Varun Grover, dude.
So
Amazing
Varun
writing
Grover and
skills.
Kunal Kamra is
Yeah.
incredible. I don't know if you know this comedian who I have a lot of respect for in the US. His name is Barry Crimmins.
No, I haven't seen his comedy yet.
He was a political comic.
Okay.
He had one special called Whatever Threatens You.
Okay.
It's on Louis C.K.'s website.
All right. I'll check it out.
Louis C.K. has 6 specials or 7 specials of his own, and only one special of Barry Crimmins.
Oh.
And that guy, he's incredible with his wit, with whatever his points that he's trying to make. He's not just lashing out
Yeah.
about the situation. He has jokes that go along with it. Um, so I it, it's it's like you go to the marketplace
Yeah.
and you know that at that marketplace everybody's eyes are on you.
Okay.
It's not like you're telling a joke in your street
Yeah.
with only the people in your lane.
Yeah.
You're trying to say something that the whole marketplace wants to listen to, and that time if you say something hilarious, the more people who laugh will tell the other people that that's very funny.
Yeah.
But if there's only a few people who get what you're saying, then there'll be more people who are like, hey man, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
So
That's
yeah,
it.
I think this podcast is going to be my political controversy.
I
Where
don't think so. We
comics,
we have we have actually
com-
dodged that pretty well.
comics will come up to me and be like, hey man, what is your
What?
problem?
Oh man. But yeah, I get what you're saying. Of course. I
There
think
are
newcomers
there
have
are
a lot to learn from too.
here's the deal. We all have so much more to learn because you're only you're only as good as your last show, and you're only as good as how much time you've spent as a comic. And when I say
Yeah.
as a comic, I mean on stage.
Yeah.
I writing anything that you think is funny and putting out a column and all of that is hilarious and funny. But the thing of being on stage with a live audience, that is something you can't change that.
That is true.
It's a it's a game on its own. So the number of people who spend enough time doing that, you see the improvement as comics for them.
Yeah.
That's what stage time, going to open mics is
Important.
is basically how you like you sleep at night. If I don't do an open mic
Yeah.
once in 4 days, I will feel so horrible.
Wow.
I won't know what to do.
Wow. That's amazing. Like, I think that also shows your devotion towards what you do, and your love towards it, because
It's too many big words. It's just that I don't think I'm good at anything else. I think this is the only thing that I think I can have a shot at doing something that I think I love.
yeah, that's
Anything
that's what
else,
I said. Like, the love for what you do. I mean, this only shows how
uh,
much you love doing it, and the I think the regularity comes naturally to you, and that's why, as you said, that if you don't do it once in 4 days, you start feeling weird about it. I think that's a huge factor of for someone to keep going, right? Because for me, it's the same for me when it's you. Like, I do YouTubing full time right now, and
okay.
I also do stand up and all. But yeah, I love talking to people about these things and the technicalities of stuff and all that, and maybe adding value is what I'll say, So to me, is this it's very similar. It's like if I go with 4 to 5 days without uploading anything on YouTube, I'm like, I'm gonna lose audience. I'm gonna lose everything I have. What am I doing? This is not how YouTube is. One is supposed to run YouTube, and then I get to it and I do a live stream, and then I get to the highlights and I upload that the next day. That's how it is.
So you know the way people watch things on a screen,
Yeah,
and you know how to cut, and you know
yeah,
how to edit, and there are a lot of other skills involved. Same way, there are so many comedians who are so skillful at acting and writing and
yeah,
improv. I just think that uh, if I look away from going to open mics
yeah,
as regularly as I do, when I come back, I don't think I'll have the confidence to to start again because of all the puking I did when I first started out.
yeah,
So it's just basically that. I don't think I want to. I mean, I also have written thoughts for shows, and I've written down ideas, and I've writing the web series and all of that. But
yeah.
uh, as far as only doing that and not doing stand up is concerned, I don't think I can do that.
Okay, okay. Amazing, dude. I've learned a lot about the technicalities of stand-up comedy today. So,
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
Go on.
No, no, you finish and then I'll ask.
Just to say that in the last lockdown,
Yeah,
there was no stand-up happening anywhere, and people were
yeah,
doing Zoom shows. And I wanted to do like a Zoom show just because the only way to do stand-up is that. But I wanted to perform every single day,
yeah,
so I did a show called Char Log Hasenge, where
yeah. It's uh,
only 4 tickets per show,
yeah.
and I did it for a month.
Oh,
And I got 4 people every single day, and it was incredible. I couldn't.
I saw that
It
on
was
Book My Show. But since I don't earn, so I actually don't go to any of the shows. I only watch like whichever stand-up comedian I like. YouTube and Netflix and Prime are the only three platforms I can watch them on. That's how it is for me. So yeah, I saw the tickets for the Char Log Hasengi concept, and as soon as I came through that, I was like, damn, dude, like people are trying so many new things when it's stand up. Someone like Shankar Chugani, whom half the nation knows through Comicstan, okay, he's doing a show with just 4 audience, members every day.
yeah, but there is a there's a slight like it's a trade secret if I may that not a lot of people are following. See,
Hmm.
the reason why people don't like Zoom comedy shows is because the laughter doesn't come back as soon as you say what you're saying if it's funny.
Yes.
And in a live comedy show, that laughter keeps building,
Yeah.
and the in the room changes through
Yes.
the show. And even if it doesn't go well, you can feel that it's not going well.
Yeah.
The Zoom comedy show, you have a grid, you can see a number of people, but then if there are too many people, you have to scroll to another page
Yeah.
to see their face. Now, when you yourself who's performing will see that, you think audience members who have the access to all the grid will not look at other people and pay attention to you, but also pay attention to,
Them.
like,
Yeah.
here is the clock, here is this house, here is the umbrella, here is a photo. Everybody would do it. Like, I'm trying to say, you have an AC right behind you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can. When you see the lines, the mind starts picking up things. So I thought if there are only four people,
Yeah.
then I, whatever I'm saying will only go to these four people, and I won't have the thing of more people trying to laugh. And because Zoom, the mechanism of Zoom is it doesn't pick everything at the same time to play.
That is true.
It picks
It also
only few.
overlaps sometimes. The laughter also overlaps a lot of times because there are 50
So
people. If there are 50 people laughing, if all of them laugh at the same time, Zoom actually reduces the volume altogether
yeah,
sometimes, and you can't hear
so
anyone. There are just people like that's what they're doing on Zoom.
so added to the fact that there is going to be a delay in what you say and how
Yeah.
people respond. There is also a delay. Like I never do my stand-up set for चार लोग हंसेंगे seated like this.
Okay.
I have the computer on a table that's high enough, and then I have my earphones on, and I stand and do my set, which is as close to doing stand-up
Oh yeah, yeah,
as I
yeah,
possibly can.
yeah,
And that it brings so much into the whole thing because at this point comparing Zoom shows to actual stand-up is actually comparing decimal points to 100 percentage,
yeah.
but
I agree.
it's taking it up to as high as you possibly can
Yeah.
to being on stage. So
Okay.
that's my whole thing. Also, I don't think I have enough following for me to do a massive show every day for people to come and watch me. I know you said that you like Suri, Dua, and me, and I know those two people are famous, and I am okayly popular. Alright, I know that.
Make more online
I
presence. Like,
No, but I don't like the fact that you have to make online presence to pursue stand up in a way where you need, because stand up isn't like making movies.
yeah,
You can't get a person who writes a script and then go direct it and every year make a movie like that.
yeah.
Stand up is like you have a thought and you say it on stage, and after 6 months that is completely different.
Hmm.
And this is the process for comics who've been doing comedy for a while. When you first start out,
Yeah,
you don't even know how these ideas will come together.
yeah,
So the more you keep going on stage, it you see the whole set transforming, and when you start with a thought, the whatever you put up on YouTube is completely different.
yeah,
I have done a set at least for for 2.5 years before I'm finally like, okay, I think I should just throw that out. That's how I work. I'm not very good with like writing down everything and then taking it up on stage. I think of a funny joke or whatever I think about and I take it on stage. But as the more I add to it and the more I remove it and I change it and I add it and I remove it, the whole process is so enchanting to me that
yeah,
I don't want to put anything out on YouTube. I was after Comics Done, I got like uh, like I would get 30 people to come for a show in Bangalore every time I did a show,
yeah,
and that's a great little place to be in a city like Bangalore, where
yeah,
the rent is rather compared to Bombay, it's more affordable.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
There is no like I have to finish this and go write somewhere. It's just Kelt and me having chai and discussing Bill Burr. That's all. There's nothing else happening.
Bangalore is one of the
So
best places to actually pursue stand up because I think it has an amazing stand up scene right now, right?
it's just over time. It's just become a place where, because there is no other, like in Bangalore, this is it. There is nothing that's going to get any better. In Bombay,
Yeah.
once you become a little popular, you get to write for a bigger comedian. That bigger comedian, he gets a little bigger, he gets to act in a movie. That bigger comedian, as he goes, he gets to be a lead in a movie. And all these people at different times get to perform for
Yeah.
platforms like Netflix and Prime, and all of that is incredibly amazing.
Yeah.
But I don't think I have the confidence right now to do what they're doing.
Yeah.
I know that when I'm doing my set, I'll have the live audience. If I say what I'm saying and I record it and I like put it on a platform for an hour, I don't know what I'll talk about,
Yeah.
and it'll take me a while to then gather my footing on stage, and that scares me. So I'm like, I don't know. I'm one of the most scared cats in the race who's just like, I just want to keep running slowly. And there are guys who are just, and to each their own style and their own way of
Yeah.
pursuing what they're pursuing. Some people have stand up and so many other things
True.
that I look at them and I imagine them juggling that must be such a task. And I have respect for people
Yeah.
who do it. Uh,
Kenny, dude.
like Kanan,
Kenny, Kanan, Zakir.
I, I I take Kannan's name because Kannan has
Yeah.
put out, and I take Kannan because I've been following Kannan from the time he did
Yeah.
stand up here.
Yeah.
He put out his first special and then he kept doing stand up and he worked on something else. Again, he kept doing stand up. Kenny is more of a YouTube. He has more presence on YouTube
Yeah.
and also does stand up. But Kannan is mostly just stand up. He was part of
Yeah.
the show Better Life Foundation. He was in a movie, but he is constantly at it as a stand up comic. And I like
True.
the thing that he's doing as a comic.
I think Kenny, Biswa, all of these guys who have been famous for a while now, they have actually found other things to do other than stand up. They're like, okay, we already know that we have reached a point where people will laugh, you know, no matter what we say. I think that is something they know because in stand up, a lot of times it also so happens. If I today see Biswa's set, which he did 4 or 5 years ago, I'm like, dude, it was so easy for people to laugh back then because it was all new to them. Today, people know stand up so well that if we open micers do the same level of comedy that Biswa and Kenny did at that time, you know, they would be like, what are you talking about? You need to get better at this because people have evolved, right? The audience have evolved heavily. So,
No, but I also think that Biswa, Kenny, Kannan have a small bit of a dilemma that they face. And this is just me
which is?
having a hunch,
Yeah.
which is they are at such a big level. All the big comics,
Yeah.
Zakir, all these big names, they are performing for such a massive
Yeah.
audience.
Yeah.
All their shows are in the thousands, upper hundreds. Uh, the highest number audience that I performed to is 110
Okay.
in Hyderabad.
Yeah.
Once I touched triple digits, and it was the happiest day of my life. Okay, but these people are performing to such massive audiences that
Yeah.
I think that they don't have the thing of going to an open mic and trying out a new idea, experimenting with it long enough the way I do it for 9 months, 10 months,
Yeah.
and then doing it because for them the 9 months they are performing itself is to such massive audiences and they have the
Yeah.
voice that people follow.
I think
So
they can't experiment because they always have expectations, you know.
yeah,
People have
I
a lot
think
of
that's,
expectations with them, and yeah, that actually.
I mean I also know that they might have their own way to do the experiment the way they like
Yeah.
we'll guys who don't have that much of a following will go to an open mic and just try out things and they'll bomb badly with it and then they'll change. But I think these massive guys know how to try and put a new idea into an already existing working
Oh, yeah.
set for them to try and see how that works and then experiment with it. Which I think it's a own process in itself. I don't know how that works. I've never had the liberty to go up on stage and people are all like, "We love you," and they're just like, "Hey, you're here. Tell us a joke, and we'll go. We have 3 movies to watch, 4 dinners to go to. I have to go to my friend's house and slap him, and it's good. It's nice."
And Zoom is like, tell your jokes and be done with it because I have to go and sleep. Like, that's what the main aim is for people nowadays.
I've had a few people in the last couple of Zoom 4 लोग हंसेंगे वह 4 people who are just friends will like join the call.
Yeah.
And I'll be doing a set for 4 random people who know each other,
Yeah.
which is a nice thing. It was twice I did it for someone's birthday,
Oh,
and just
people are booking you for their birthdays now. That's how it is. And you don't even know, dude. That's how it is.
it's what can you do? What can you do at a point where this is the only source of income, man? If you're only doing stand up and you're adamant and not
I get
writing,
it.
well,
Yeah.
you can get a paying gig as a writing, because I'll feel very bad if I can't write and then go to stand up. I'll feel very horrible. That's why I'm not doing it. But if the only source of income, what will I say? If it's your birthday, then why don't you pay me extra, huh? I'm actually glad that they added me as their like celebration
Yeah.
manager.
Yeah.
A little sweet and yeah, just good.
True.
I like it.
So as we were talking, like Kenny, Kanan, Abish, all these guys have started to do a lot of other things too, right? They're multifaceted and versatile in a way.
Yeah.
So if you see Kenny, he's an artist. Okay, he paints. He does stand up. He has a podcast channel. He has written shows and acted in them. So many things, right? And same goes with Abish. He is a host to a show, a Jimmy Fallon kind of show, which was with Abish. Then there was his Better Life Foundation. I think he was also a part of it, right? Abish was.
I don't think was Kanan was.
Okay, I need to see the show again because it was a long time ago. But yeah,
I don't think you'll find it, man.
yeah, it's gone. It was on Prime, I think.
No, I think it was.
It-
I think it was Hotstar.
Hotstar, yeah. Oh, Naveen Richard was also there, right? Yeah, okay, I get it. Yeah, but you get my point, right? Abish has also been doing so many things, and
No,
so
but
these guys
to
have.
be- Go on.
So these guys have done so much. Do you ever think that okay, stand up is something I'm good at, but let's try something like maybe at some point would you think that let's try and write a show on your own, if not for someone else, something independent, or maybe something like try something new in life, other than stand up, which you may not be good at or you may not have tried, but you hope you get good at it and you always wanted to do it, something like that.
See, that's under the assumption that I think I'm good at stand-up. Man, there is this comedian that I want to slap, but I can't because he's a fan of UFC,
Okay.
who is a good writer and one of my favorite comics. He's Shashwat Maheshwari.
Yeah.
He is hilarious and he walks and when you're hanging out with him, he's constantly throwing jokes at you.
Yeah.
And most of the times it works, sometimes it doesn't work and he just takes it in the stride. But the amount of jokes he writes baffles me. And I literally, if I was a stronger guy, I'd go up to him and I'll be like, can you stop being funny? Similar thing with Kelt.
Yeah.
Kelt has got the weirdest mind because I don't know, he's just, so those are the two kind of people that I look at and I'm like, these are the two people who aren't as big as some of the big names that we follow that I
Yeah.
look at and I'm keeping an eye on them as I'm interested in what they are doing.
Oh,
Sumit Anand, Manik Mana,
I love Sumit Anand.
Anirban Das Gupta.
Yeah.
These are all comics that I am really, really curious and watching closely. So when I look at all these people, I'm like, I'm barely hanging on because I was on Comicstan.
Dude,
Like I'm literally
Anirban, as you
holding on to
said,
the bar. Huh.
that guy writes so well. I mean, his stand-ups are obviously great, but I've seen his shows. The one he did with Gulshan Devaiya, Afsos. Have you seen it?
I haven't watched it fully as yet. I watched it a long time back, and I
crazy
know it's a dark. Yeah, I know he's incredible.
Yeah. So I get what you're saying. That the day you get so good at stand up, I mean, according to you, you know.
I know. I don't know.
Uh,
I don't know if I want to be like, yeah, the day I did good at stand up, I'll do something else because I wanted to understand one thing. Before doing stand up, I used to work at a theater.
yeah.
I used to handle the management of the theater
Mm.
as a little bit. I mean, front of house, website, marketing,
Okay.
uh, a lot of things. And I used to also get a chance to act a couple of times.
Mm.
And while all of this was happening, I wanted to do stand up.
Oh.
So I served a notice period of 6 months because
At the
I
theater.
take at the theater because
Oh.
when you're working in a theater, you don't have different departments. Everybody who's working there kind of does everything you can
Yeah.
to run the place. So I was handling their website, their social media, their marketing. I was also their in-house designer. Horrible in-house designer. Horrible. Horrible means horrible. But I did the because you know people who do this professionally who've done like courses and understood design.
Yeah.
I would just pick design that I think looks good and has all the information.
Yeah. Yeah.
But surface level understanding, getting into the whole if you look at it from this angle, I never really was that thing. I also handled their marketing, their front office, their box office, ushering people in. So while all of this was
Almost
going on,
everything.
like I said, once you get in,
Yeah.
there is no. It's like when you're at home
Yeah.
and you're doing chores. It's not like you'll be like, I only will make my bed and sit down. If you're helping out, you'll help out in doing everything. Go help your mother in cooking, go,
Yeah.
like sweep as much as you can, all of that. So I told them I want to do stand up, so but I can't, like, I don't want to quit right away.
Yeah.
So I said I'll do a notice period of 6 months, and I slowly started saying I started giving away, handing over responsibilities
Yeah.
to do stand up. And just after that happened, Comic Con came about.
Oh.
So so no, actually I did that for 6 months. I tried stand up, and then I went back just handling social media at Jagriti
Hmm.
for about 3-4 months, and then Comic Con happened, and I got to do a stand up that is recorded for Prime in front of so many people with high tech camera and all that.
Yeah.
When when people started coming to watch me, and I had a small group of 30 people per show, 25 people per show, I was so happy doing
Yeah.
that I didn't really have the urge to do anything else.
Ah.
And even now, I'm at that phase where I'm happy to be on stage with 35 people
Yeah.
listening to what I have to say. And yeah, so all everybody else that you mentioned, or even I mentioned, are people who have their stage time allotted, and they do the number of open mics and the number of shows, and people buy tickets for the show. But I think if I don't keep doing stand up, the number of people who buy my tickets will go down.
Oh.
And I don't want to risk that. That's about it.
I get it. Yeah. True. True. Oh man. Yeah. The other thing I wanted to ask you was Comicstan. Let's just discuss the elephant in the room, like address the elephant in the room.
It's an elephant that has gone like a long time. Yeah, go on.
So I wanted to ask you as to Comicstan had like how many 8 to 9 segments, right? 8 to 9 different kinds of segments
Yeah,
where you had to
yeah.
perform. One was observational, one was anecdotal, one was improv. I don't know. One was sketch
Like,
comedy. I remember these four. I still have to I have to repeat the show to watch what were the other four because I don't know,
we had
man. Uh,
go on.
it was like there was so many segments, and at like when it was when season 1 was out, I had tried doing one open mic at CLC in 2018. Okay, I had done one open mic at CLC, and that was an audition. CLC had this audition thing
Yeah, yeah.
where other comics used to sit. There were two judges, and they used to judge you, and they used to be like, "You're really bad. You can't come to the mic. Your name won't be there on the next mic." And then you had to try again and again every Monday. That's how it was at that time. So there were two. Those two judges were actually regular comics at CLC. That's what it was. Okay, they were not big names or anything. I used to see them. They used to just come from their work directly. I used to go from college, and I
This is
was
in
also with a
Bombay.
what?
This is in Bombay.
This is in Noida. This is in Noida. There was a mall,
Oh.
DLF Mall. You remember?
Hmm.
Yeah, there was a Canvas Laugh Club there, and they used to be like, okay, I do stand up here every day, and since audience come and watch me, so I'm gonna judge you. That's how it was. And I used
What are the
to.
names of these judges, man?
I don't remember, dude. I honestly don't remember because they weren't big names, or they weren't people who used to do shows. They were just people whom CLC used to give regular spots to, just because people would laugh. Like, they knew that there was a reassurance that yes, people would laugh. And I might have seen them once or twice on CLC flyers, but other than that, I had no clue who they were. And then I used to go up there and I used to perform. And since I had just started, so they had no mercy, like no mercy. Okay, they used to just be like, okay, you can't come because you were horrible, and try better luck next time. That's what the mail I used to get, that you're not selected.
Okay.
So I never got to perform in front of real audience at that time in 2018. And then when I saw your show, I was like, 10 kinds of comedy. I didn't even know that there are 10 types of it. I knew that there was improv, I knew that there was stand up, the like written material, but other than that, all of it is improvisation in its own. So what is it other than that? So how was your journey through it?
So, Comic-Con was incredible because Biswa especially was in Bombay,
Yeah.
and Biswa is mean to everybody but harmlessly. But when you first start out, you got rejected at
Yeah.
the CLC.
Yeah.
I got rejected by Biswa.
Oh.
Biswa used to come to open mics. He used to tell me, "You're not funny, man. You should give your spot to someone else. You should just go home because you're wasting people's time." And and then much years later, I realized that he used to do that with everybody, as like that was his thing of talking.
Oh, okay.
But
So he did not give an honest opinion. Like, it was just something
I think he was just trying to test to see if people can take him.
break. Oh,
Like,
okay.
yeah, people can see that he's kidding, or people will take him seriously, and I
Yeah.
think he used to just I think that was his defense mechanism, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
I would work at Jagriti, finish all the work that I can, cycle to an open mic, do my set, and Biswa will be, because Biswa was the center guy that people were like, "Hey, Biswa's
Yeah.
performing here, let's."
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So he was just like, "Man, you fucking suck, man."
I can imagine Biswa saying that.
So to his credit, once I was doing an open mic and Biswa was in the room, and one heckler tried to say something, and I shut him down by saying some line, and later Biswa came and gave me a hug. He's all like, "Shabash, whatever." So
You were like, finally, all this mehnat from coming from Jagriti, cycling from there, coming here, performing. Finally,
so
this
so
is, this has been fruitful.
so this is not on Biswa. This is more on me. Whatever he said, I was running around so much that I didn't have the time to sit down and be like, "Bro,
Process it.
it's just kidding.
Yeah.
You're a comic. You're supposed to take jokes lightly." I thought there was a difference between open micers and comics.
Ah.
I don't think there is, man. I think there's just open micers who do open mic for so long that they just are further into
The scene. Yeah.
section of comic. That's it.
Yeah.
That is it. I realized this. I realized this when once I was performing. I was only doing open mics for like 2-3 months,
Yeah.
and there was a show with a bunch of comedians, and Kannan Gill reached that venue, and the host asked Kannan, "Would you like to do a 5-minute set?" And he said, "Sure." And then he asked me, because we'd been seeing each other at open
Yeah.
mics for 4 months. He said, "Hey, did you do a set?" And I was like, I can do a set.
How is it?
And and then he looked at the host like, man, what? Put him up, man. What is wrong with you? And that's when it hit me that uh, there's no difference between open mics and comedy shows. The only
Yeah.
difference is people who come for comedy shows are coming to see people who've been doing open mics for a while and they've
Yeah.
paid money to do it. That's about it. There's no, it's in our head that, to be more honest with you, open mics are harder than shows
Of
because
course.
here people already come with the intention to laugh. At open mics, people are
Yeah.
just there hearing what you have to say. And that changed so much in me that I just started looking at every open mic as a show. I wouldn't,
Wow.
when I'm performing an open mic, it's just people are paying attention to you. If you
Yeah.
can't handle 4 people's attention, forget handling 50 people's attention to the extent that you can. So, Biswa, coming back to how he roasted me,
Yeah.
Biswa, I'm never going to forget this, Biswa. I swear to God. I will.
I hope Biswa sees this, man. I really want him to see this.
So, later on, Biswa, when I met him, he's like, I was just kidding. Nobody else keeps that in heart. You're the only guy who is not forgotten that I was like, yeah, man, whatever. So Biswa came to Bangalore for the audition as one of the judges or mentors, and he
Yeah.
hadn't seen me for 3.5 years.
Oh.
So when I started out, I wasn't funny. When I started out, I was rushing all my jokes. I was just trying to get it all out, and I was
Yeah.
too nervous. I was puking before I went up on stage. So I was just like, I suck, I suck. And then after 3.5 years of doing open mics, there was progress that Biswa hadn't seen. So when he watched me, Biswa was like, man, you've improved.
Okay.
There were times, I kid you not, there were times when I know Biswa was in the room and out of just avoiding uncomfortable conversation, I wouldn't go in that direction. I'd be like, fuck this guy.
Yeah.
I'm not even going. If he's sitting at a place where water can is next to him, I'm all like, I'll go home and drink water. I don't want water right now.
This is one more thing with Comics Tanya. When I used to like when they used to talk about you guys, where are you guys from, and he's like, this guy is from Bangalore. Shankar Chugani has come from Bangalore, audition and all. I was like, oh dude, Bangalore, I'm gonna love this. Kenny is from Bangalore. Rahul is from Rahul essentially did his stand up in Bangalore. So I'm gonna love him. That is one thing. That is another thing that made you my favorite, one of my favorites, because it was like, okay, like Mumbai and Delhi, I understand because I don't know, they have a way of doing it. Some of them have an accent, some of them just use a lot of slangs and do it. They do that. They use those cliche tricks to make people laugh. But I think with Bangalore comics, with Bangalore comics, there's something like, okay, I'll talk in English and I'll talk relatable stuff. That's one thing I need to do every time I go up on stage. So for that reason, I always felt like Bangalore comics were more genuine on stage than anyone else.
I'll tell you why that's the case. I think Delhi and Bombay
Yeah.
have firstly way more population than Bangalore.
Yeah.
Secondly, both of them are Hindi liking
Yeah.
cities. Bangalore is cosmopolitan to an extent where not just relevant city.
Hello.
Kannada, sorry.
Yeah, Shankar, can you just repeat the last sentence? There was a connection error.
Okay.
Bangalore.
Bangalore
Yeah.
is such a cosmopolitan city that not just English, you have the local language Kannada,
Yeah.
Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam, Hindi,
Wow.
all of it is there in good amounts in this city.
Okay.
It's not as massive as other cities, but it's pretty good. And there's also a good amount of English-speaking people who use English on a very day-to-day basis. The most amount of office space in the country at one point was in Bangalore.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's true right now because it's hard to say what office space is anymore.
Yeah. Been out of touch
But-
for so long.
But out of sheer uh, lack of a language to rely on,
Yeah.
Bangalore comics don't have, like I said, there is no stakes here.
Yeah.
There is no, there is no, like in Bombay, you might say this is cliche, but Delhi comics have this attitude of "Tu janta nahi mere baap kaun hai." Like
Exactly.
their whole agenda is, and I don't know if that Delhi, that city makes you that way, or is just the heat in that city,
The
or the
people make you that
pollution.
way, actually.
I think it's also the pollution. At one point, you're just like,
I have I have actually done my engineering in Greater Noida, uh,
hmm,
and I used to visit Delhi very regularly. Like 4 years, NCR has been a hub to me. For 4 years,
okay,
I used to travel everywhere in NCR from time to time, and essentially it is the people. Okay, I'll tell you why. A very small example. Okay, very easy example is there were people in first and second year picking up a fight with third and fourth years in an engineering college setup. Okay, like it was a university, yes, but when there is engineering stream added into the university, okay, it is essentially engineering plus something else. That's what the college is. Okay, this is the Indian mentality fact. Okay,
hmm,
and there were people, like there were juniors from Delhi NCR who had no decorum whatsoever, and they used to just come to our floor. Okay, we used to stay on the top floors, 8th and 9th floors, us third and fourth years. They used to come on our floor and they used to be like, "Tu janta nahi mera baap kaun hai?" Google kar le and stuff like that. I used to listen to that from my room and I used to be like, who is this fucker who's coming and heckling us for no reason at all when we are watching movies and smoking cigs in our room? That's what it was. We would just chill and have fun in our rooms, and there would at randomly there would be a guy from NCR region who would, I don't know, get heated up for no reason at all and come and pick up a fight with us. That's how it was. So they have a lot of ego, in them. And because of that, I
um,
have a defense mechanism which has improved my humor through years. Because of that, I started doing open mics.
so just to say that Delhi has its own
Vibe. Let's say vibe.
climate,
Yeah.
people's climate, so to speak.
Yeah.
Bombay has its own hustler city,
Yeah.
Bollywood city, a city where everybody gets to eat a meal, no matter how rich or poor you are.
Yeah.
Based on your outcome, you can go eat a vada pav, and that's you can have
Hmm.
a chai. Auto guys will go take you everywhere. That city has a spirit like no other city in our country.
Yeah.
Bangalore has its local rich heritage.
Yeah.
It's got a part of the city that is very well preserved as a local Kannadiga community,
Yeah.
and you have this new area where people are working and trying to earn a living. But Bangalore doesn't have that. Only the Bangalorean is a very uh, individualistic spirit where people feel
Yeah.
that I this is my city, I love this city. In Bombay, you're a Mumbaiker just if you're there for 2 years plus. You're
Yeah.
all the time a Mumbaiker. You're a Delhiite. Bangalore, some people say I live in Bangalore. They
Yeah.
don't say Bangalore is my city
Yeah.
because I don't know. I think Bangalore's still in that transition phase where it's yet to become that the city where people want to stay and live and be based out of.
Hmm.
So because of this, Bombay and Delhi have the comics who reach to the audience the way they do, and in Bangalore there's no stake. There is no
Yeah.
thing that whether you say it in Hindi in a certain way, or whether you say it with that attitude, or whether you say it in English, it's gonna
That
get the
doesn't make a
same response.
difference. Yeah.
So everybody just tries to go on stage as themselves and tells the jokes the way they are.
Yeah.
So that's why Bangalore has comics. I think Bangalore has the more diverse group of comics than
Yeah.
Bombay and Delhi.
True.
Not maybe in the same numbers, but
Quality,
uh,
like the type of comedy and the type of jokes they do. Yeah. That I agree to. So, as we were talking about Comicstan, so I didn't know before Comicstan there is so much structure to stand-up comedy. Uh, was it the same? Was it the same with you? Like, you didn't know so much about it, and you got to learn a lot from the show, or was it like, okay, there are some parts that are new, most of it I know. There are some parts that are new. I have a chance to work on them, so let's do it. Which way did you go about it?
so I've been like I'm more of a geek when it comes to collecting information about stand-up.
Yeah.
It's the way it is. Sketch and improv are its own uh, stadiums, so to speak.
Yeah.
Stand-up is its own place. Um, and I've collected information about stand-up so that I wasn't surprised on the show about something that I've never learned before.
Yeah.
I was just happy to be in the group of comics who are, uh, putting minds together. And when we were working on the show, there were times when we would give each other jokes, or one or two of us would give each other jokes that we
Oh.
think works in the other person. Like the person will do a set for us, and we will, because in my head or everybody's head, it wasn't like one person has to beat everybody else. It's
Yeah.
if everybody then the show gets better and then people watch more
Yeah.
and more. So, uh, me and Shashwat for the most would discuss just some of the comics that we follow and like, and discuss random things. And I was glad to be amongst the group of people that is there.
Yeah.
I learned that it's just a discussion group
Okay.
of comics. Where
Yeah.
even the mentors were like, guys, listen, this is how we'll do it. This is what I think, this is what you think. Let me know if you have any ideas. So, no mentor was like, I am a mentor, you are a mentee, listen to me. That wasn't the case. It was one giant group and people would pitch ideas, and it was basically a green room that where we were behaving ourselves.
Yeah.
Usually in a green room, there is such violent shit that is being said, but all in good spirit. We can't show that side. So it was literally in Comic Con, we'd have a green room setup where the mentor will speak and we'll speak and whatever, and then recording will get over. We'll go outside, everybody will have a smoke, and then we'll say the same shit with lesser political correctness.
Yeah.
And, and without the intention of people watching. Like when people are watching, I speak in a certain way. Now if I'm on a podcast with you, so that's why I'm talking to you like this. Otherwise
Yeah.
I'll just be like, yeah, so
Get it. Oh man.
so you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's a whole other thing. So that's the only difference. Uh, I was glad to be on that first set of
Yeah.
people who were there together, and it was my first time meeting Shashwat
Yeah.
Maheshwari. So I was just in awe of the guy's mind, because everybody else came to stand up to Comic Con with at least some of their previous work or
Yeah.
some of their previous sets. Shashwat wrote every set that week.
Wow. Wow.
Shashwat
That
wrote
is
every set
amazing,
that week.
dude.
He doesn't. You see the amount of thing that he was just doing open mics. He opened mic halfway through the show, which is astounding because that's also to finish the idea about the whole Bombay, Delhi, Bangalore thing.
Yeah.
Hindi is a funnier language phonetically than English.
Yeah. True.
Like bukhad is such a funny word.
Bhukkad. Ah.
Uh, Ganje. Just so many words that are so funny.
We
Those
do
things,
that. We do that. I have a I have a set. I mean, a joke where I have to call people idiots. Okay. But idiots isn't as funny as chutia, So because of that, sometimes I'm like, okay, let's call people chutia. I think they'll relate more and they'll laugh more, and that actually works. If
yeah,
there is Hindi audience,
but
it actually works.
but the thing that works in Bangalore is you can't say all this. You can't say, because people who are sitting
Educated,
who are
very
localized,
educated audience. Yeah.
no, educated, just diverse group of people. You're
Yeah.
not sitting there like when you say chutia, they're not like, they're sitting there like, what is your point? What are you trying to say? So you better come
Yeah.
with at least the idea of something. I want to tell you guys something.
Hmm.
You can't go up on stage and be like, so log to chuti hote hain. And people won't laugh. They'll be like, now tell me, you've told me this line.
Yeah.
Now if you don't tell me a good
Why?
reason
Yeah.
why you don't think
Of
people
course.
are like that, I am just sitting here with that silence, and you can feel the people's thing. Bangalore is a tough set of rooms, because if you come to Bangalore, do a couple of sets, when you go back, you feel like going to Bombay is rather easier with the
Yeah.
amount of people who come to watch. So on and so forth. So that's what coming back to Comic Town, I like that's how I felt. Just um, like also to be honest with you, I come from a middle class house where I'm only doing stand up for a living.
Yeah.
So I after doing 4.5 years of stand up, I put together a 1 hour set, and I did it for the first time, called Selling Myself Short.
Okay.
And I had done a free show. I didn't want to sell it for tickets. I just wanted people to come and sit and watch,
Hmm.
because I wanted to see how I can do a set for more than 30 people when I'm only doing open mics for 7, 10, 12 people.
Hmm.
And one of the best days of my life, where I just did 57 minutes of stand up,
Hmm.
and I was ready to keep doing that to see if at any point I want to record it. And when Comic Con happened, I broke that whole set into small pieces, and I
Oh.
so that was my main reason to make sure that I do everything that I can to be on that show and do well. And I was glad to get the opportunity to be
Amazing.
on that show.
Amazing. Nice.
I
I
was
think-
a little shocked, because
Yeah.
when I was doing my set for the observational round, I asked them, can I do a couple of jokes from the audition?
Yeah.
And he said, no, that is recorded and you can never do those jokes again.
Yeah.
So I felt like a stab in my chest for a couple of seconds, because you've been working on these jokes for 4 years, and then although it's a great platform, but when someone comes and tells you out of the blue you can't do these jokes ever again, it felt a little.
Yeah, because although they did not show the whole, even if they do not show your like your full audition set, you never know what they're gonna telecast. So because of that, they need to tell you that you cannot do those jokes ever again. At least not on this show, because people already see it coming. You know.
But thankfully for me, they showed my entire set.
Yeah,
Start
they did. Yeah,
to end.
I remember.
I was glad at least that.
Yeah. So I think in second season, as you said about Shashwat Maheshwari, I think in second season Samay Raina was someone who did that, because he has only been doing stand up for like 4 years now, and like so he started in 17, I think, and he has gotten it easy, you know, where he is right now. He has gotten it much easier than many other guys, because he started in 17, got selected in 18, okay, and the idea of him starting stand up, he has said this on YouTube, you know, on his stream. He's like, when people ask him कि भाई आपका what was the idea behind you when you started stand up, he's like, कुछ नहीं भाई, मैं देखता था स्टैंड अप कॉमेडी और फिर मुझे पता चला कि लोग पैसा कमाते, तो इज लाइक अरे ये तो मैं भी कर सकता हूँ, एंड देन आई स्टार्टेड स्टैंड अप. दैट वाज हिज स्टाइल ऑफ स्टार्टिंग. So he was very casual with it, and I think he was naturally funny to keep the audience captive. And as you said, Shashwat is always funny, right? Like even when he's talking, generally he's spitting jokes again and again. So that's the thing with Samay too. The reason his live streams are so good are because of his spontaneity. You have no clue what he's gonna do on stream, okay? And even when he's playing chess with a grandmaster, he will do jokes that you never see coming. And I think that's one of the qualities of some stand-up comedians which make them so funny even when they write, you know. And they're like, okay, I know that I have a lot of jokes. Let's just choose which ones are the best to do on you know, the stage. That's how it is. So, man,
I haven't watched season 2 of Comic Con.
it's good. It's not as good as one. Honestly, one was a totally new concept. So because of that, I think I enjoyed one more. But yeah, in 2 you have particular people who make the show very good, which is, I think Samay is one of them, Akash Gupta is another. That's it. Like these are the two names I remember, and these were the two names which stood out. Prashasti was a really good comic. Yeah, so these guys.
Prashasti was in season 1, man.
Oh shit. Sometimes I get confused. Yeah, Prashasti was in 1. Ashwarya Mohanraj, was she with you guys or
1.
1, right? Oh man, she has grown so much on Instagram now because of her reels. Oh my god, her reels. So I think when we were talking about the online presence, right? These guys are more famous just for one reason, and that is their online presence. And they're like, okay, stand-up shows are one thing, but if you need to have an audience every time you do something, you need to have that online presence, because Instagram isn't just trending. It's like a huge part of people's lives now. Instagram, that's what it is. And that is why people are like, okay, let's do this. Because of that, I put an IGTV yesterday. I did a podcast with Anand Ratnam. It got like double the views my podcast usually get, and that is because I got 1,266 views or something on IGTV. And that was my first IGTV, and because of Anand Ratnam and some people shared my stories and all, I got those many. I was like, damn dude, Instagram can do wonders for you. So I think one way to grow as a comedian, even if you don't want to have that online presence through reels and all, one thing you can do is your comedy bits that you want to record, or you already have recorded that you haven't put out, you can make an IGTV of them and do it. Like Upmanyu has been doing it, Upmanyu has been putting reels out, and then he combined all of them and put a stand-up set on YouTube named Instagram Jokes. Because he put those on Instagram. So I think that's one way comedians have been growing nowadays, trying their jokes on Instagram and seeing the response and then putting it on YouTube and vice versa. That's how it is nowadays.
I don't know what you want me to say to this.
No, I'm just telling you I'm just giving you a way to have more audience. And
yeah, but more audience for what?
Suppose you want to do a special where you're like, okay, let's call people, and you're not so confident as you said earlier as to, like, as you said, 110 people have come to your show, that's the maximum you've gotten to, right? So suppose one day you're like, okay, I think it's time to record a special, because you've been doing it for 8 years, dude. So I think you deserve a special.
I don't think you should look at it like, one day I want to do a special, or I deserve to do a special, because it's it's very limiting to think this is something that I want to do and then put it as a special.
Okay.
And again, I'm not trying to say anything against people who are working on specials, already have specials, or put out specials.
Yeah.
I just think that the first couple of years,
yeah,
you doing stand-up is you setting your foundation as a stand-up comic. You're trying to say what you think is funny, and you're trying to find your voice.
Yeah.
And if you are the kind of person who is spontaneously, naturally funny, then looking for a special, because that's how you're going to talk and people are going to respond, and that's your natural character that comes out.
Yeah.
Then a special is for you.
Okay.
For me, as I said, I work on a set for 18 months, 19 months for it to become something that I can record and put it out, or in that way. So in that way, I'm never dreaming of like, what will I do with my special.
Yeah.
I keep working on jokes, and when the time is right, if I get an opportunity, I'll pull out the best bits that I have and I'll put it out, and that will be the set that goes out. So even now, as long as if I can sell a coffee house, or if I can sell a place that has 30-35 seats in maybe 10-12 cities in our country, and then go and do open mics throughout the rest, I wouldn't be complaining.
I get it. Okay. Nice. I said this. There was one reason I said this special.
Your expression is more like okay.
No, I get that. I mean, what you're saying, I get that, because I think that's what regular stand-up is about. What you're saying, specials and all. The one reason I said about, like, I talked about the special is because a lot of times I have heard comics talking and people asking me, fellow open micers asking me as to how many minutes of jokes do you have? Are you there at the 1 hour point yet? So a lot of times 1 hour set is seen as a milestone, and that's what specials like, that's what leads to a special, right? And that's how they talk. So because of that, I was like, I think since you have been doing it for 8 years, you deserve a special, because I think you are there already, where you have a lot more than 1 hour, so because of that, I said that. Yeah.
Just because you're bringing up the topic,
Okay.
I wanted to tell you that the reason why I don't work on a special is when I'm doing Char Log Hasenge,
Yeah.
I pull out this list
Okay.
of 160 thoughts that I think are funny.
Wow.
Right?
Wow. Okay.
Now, I don't think that a special is something I'm I'm I am happy doing stand up
Yeah.
live, and I love the whole thing of me getting up on stage as often as I can, doing
Hmm.
and although I feel like I must be working towards a tangible set that's a product that I can put out as a special, I always think, what after that? What am I going to do
Yeah.
after that?
Okay.
I don't think I'll be able to handle 300 seater people who are coming to watch me.
Okay.
I don't think I feel like I would love to be on stage and tell people jokes, but I'm already doing that. I am already doing that on a regular basis. It's just a number, it's just a matter of how many people.
Yeah.
And if I can make enough money to not like run into debt or not try and wonder or hassle what am I going to do for money, then I am happy just
You're
doing
already there.
stand up. I'm not,
You're already there.
yeah,
Yeah.
there is no other level. You keep thinking that you do this, you'll get to the next level.
Okay.
Man, there are comics in the US who've done stand up for 20, 25 years and they have maybe 3, 4 specials.
Uh,
Good, good special. Bill Burr has been in comedy for about 30 years now,
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and he has 6 specials. So if you start putting a special when you're 8 years in, then you think you have it in you to put what, 12 specials by the time you're 30. How dare you think you're better than Bill Burr?
Bill Burr, of course.
So you look at India has looked at stand up as the time as specials come out every year. But
Yeah.
there are so many comics who put in the years of work just to become stronger as a comic.
Yeah. True.
Chris Schultz is a good example. He has a couple of videos on YouTube as a stand-up comic, and he wanted to put together a special, but no network wanted to work with him. Blah
Yeah.
blah blah, and that's a popular story. But Andrew Schultz has been doing stand-up for 11 years.
He's damn funny, dude. He's damn funny.
11 years of doing stand-up to a point where he is finally wanting to put out is what happened 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So everybody sees that thing of like I can put together an hour and do it, and anybody who's doing it, I only could wish them luck to do that and then pursue anything further.
Yeah.
But I still don't think that I still worry for myself of what am I going to do once I say bye to these jokes? What will I do? I can't write. I am not Shashwat Maheshwari. I cannot write like
I get it.
joke after joke after joke after
Yeah.
joke. And I know I'm bringing up word often, and I just think that Shashwat has the patience to sit down and write a joke further, better, just to do it. I still want to punch him, but I think he'll beat the shit out of me.
I'll call Shashwat one day on this podcast too. I think your name will help me bring these guys on very easily. So, okay, I get that. So, what your idea of stand up is basically you're already there, you already, and I think your idea of stand up is more intimate, other than like rather than making a 1 hour special and stuff like that. Your milestone is to better captivate 30 to 60 people than try and do it to 300 people, right?
My idea of stand up is like in a time when like I'm too used to getting up on stage every day.
Okay.
So until and unless I don't feel like I'm done with a bunch of jokes and I want to work on some new material, I am not going to work on them enough so that they have a timely manner to do a special. It'll be if it happens, well and good, but I'm just happy doing stand up, having people coming to see me, and I think in Bangalore that's such a great place where people come to see me.
Yeah.
And I have some of the comics who do a set, like 2 sets before I do a set, and just them watching me do this, I feel so like lucky to be on that show and have people come to watch me while I'm based in Bangalore.
Yeah.
That I don't want to now scale up and be like, oh, you guys came to see me, now let me try and get double the amount. No, I'm happy.
I get it.
I'm content doing stand up.
Nice. That's nice. I am glad to hear that I don't need to get to a point where I have a 1 hour special. That's not how it always goes.
Someone asked Don Bradman,
Yeah.
what is the perfect grip to hold a bat to play as good as you play?
Yeah.
He said, drop the bat on the ground and then pick it up.
Okay.
That's the grip.
Okay.
What he's trying to say is
everyone has their own. Yeah.
There is no such thing as a grip. There is no such thing. You're just doing what you feel and you keep doing it. That's about it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man.
Man, you're damn inspirational, dude.
Hey, don't worry, bro. I'm just a guy doing stand-up. That's it.
No, but seriously, I mean, I understand, but the point is, the perspective that you bring to this, okay, is very different from the regular, and I think it's a very healthy perspective because lot of people have made stand-up a competition, they've made it a huge, rat race. And that happens with everything that starts in this country. I think once something that starts in this country is trending, people are like, oh man, I am the one who has to ace at it. I am the one who has to get there, this and that,
I think there are way more prolific comics in the country. There are way more funnier comics in the country.
Yeah.
But you know what baffles me? I've worked at tech support. I've been a copywriter. I've worked at Jagriti. Done so many things.
Yeah.
Today, I earn money by telling people things that I find funny. And that's it. That's it. And I was like, what am I complaining about? What is this? So I've had a conversation with so many comics who tried to have a conversation with me to move to Bombay.
Exactly, yeah.
They are all well-meaning people who want the betterment for me.
The best for you, yeah.
They want the best for me. I sat down with Tanmay Bhatt and he's like, man, any problem you have, I'll solve it for you. I'll get you a laptop, I'll get you money to move, I'll get you a place to stay. You can crash with Abhish Matthew, Kannan Gill, you can crash with anybody, I'll do it. And I was like, bro, नहीं होता bro, मेरी फटती है, मैं लिख नहीं सकता, मैं लोगों से बोल नहीं सकता, स्टेज पे चढ़ के जोक सुना के वापस घर आ जाता हूँ. Even during the lockdown, before the lockdown, if I get chai, FIFA, stage time, and sex, I am a happy guy. Sex is just free. I'm not, because my parents might watch this. So if I get chai, FIFA, stand up, I'm perfect.
Oh man. Shit. I relate so much to that last joke. My parents might watch this. That's a fear that is never going, when you're a middle class kid. That's something. My mom pointed this out, I put a funny edit of my chess highlights, okay? Like, it was a very funny edit, but I use some bad words, unconsciously I do it because I've been in Delhi for 4 years, as I said. So it just comes out of nowhere. And then my mom was like, it was good, but there were so many bad words. You shouldn't use bad words. That's how she was talking to me. I'm like, Mom, I'm 23-year-old. I know what I'm doing. She's like, no, I understand that, but at least don't do it till you're famous. Do it after you're famous, but don't do it till you're famous. Because there are so many people of society watching you. What will they think?
Here's the problem. When you're at 23 saying, "Hey man, my parents will watch me," and say, "What will other people think?" I'm at an age where people, if I say I'm having sex, they're like, "You're getting married to that person." Okay. So, so it's a whole different ballgame.
Oh man. I had a great time with you, dude.
I'm glad.
It was so much fun talking to you. I think this is the most technical podcast I've ever had with respect to stand-up, because I haven't gotten so much information and such a new perspective on it yet. And I'm so thankful to you for that, actually. Because I think again, I'm repeating my words, but yeah, your perspective is so healthy, to a point where people who are getting into stand-up, if they see this and they see a guy who has been doing stand-up for 8 years, he doesn't want anything else other than just making 30 to 50 people laugh, on a show every day. That's what he wants,
I mean, I wouldn't mind if the number goes high, but
I mean, you get what I'm saying, right? I mean, I can't
yes,
frame
I
it
understand.
exactly your way, but I'm just
I like how you asked me. You get what I'm saying about something that I told you.
because I don't want to offend you, dude. That's what it is.
No. It's chill, dude. I don't want to come across looking as some guy who is judging other people for doing
Yeah.
everything. I have respect for people who hustle their way right and do everything that they can to survive and get to that next level.
Yeah.
I just think I don't know if I can make it if I go to the next level. Like I'll give an example. If I was going to start stand up now, I don't think I'll ever do stand up. I don't think I'll ever do stand up. So knowing that I'm doing stand up and knowing that I just get up on stage every single day is
Yeah.
what makes me happy, is what makes me get out of bed. So
Nice.
that's about it.
Okay, one last question.
Yes.
Call back to the time when you left your job and became a copywriter and started doing open mics. What was your parents'
Ah.
reaction to it? How did they take it?
That's a little bit of a long story.
But just tell me the reaction, gist of it.
Okay, so I didn't tell my parents till 2.5 years that I was doing stand up. I literally went from tech support to copywriting. It wasn't a smooth transition.
Yeah.
I used to work in the 6 to 3 shift in the morning, cycle to the copywriting office, advertising agency, learn. I was a unpaid intern for 6 months learning copywriting.
Wow.
I'd go home, get my dinner, sleep, and then repeat this. And then after 6 to 7 months, they hired me as a junior copywriter.
Okay.
Just because I wouldn't go. They were like, you come and you learn in the evening hours. I kept going. So once they hired me, and I was shit as a copywriter also. My boss, Sagar Juneja, was such a kind soul because he saw I wanted to stand up. He was very lenient with me.
Wow.
But as I was shit, I wanted to change that also. So I literally Googled volunteering work on the weekends.
Oh.
And the first thing that came up was Jagriti Theatre. So I
Oh.
went to them and I said, I'd like to volunteer here. They said, come on the weekends. And I just kept going every weekend, relentlessly. And they were like, do you want to work here? I'm like, why not? And I took a pay cut from like 4 years. This whole process took 4 years. My brother, we both started working together. And everybody that I know was progressing in life
Yeah.
financially.
Yeah.
I had taken the same salary that I was taking in tech support at advertising agency, and then at Jagriti I took a pay cut. which is a theater. It's not an advertising
Yeah.
agency, so it's understandable.
Of course.
But my brother was like, "Why are you going in the opposite direction?" But when I was working at Jagriti, I realized that I can make enough money to run my monthly needs, and
Yeah.
I can do stand up in the evening hours.
Ah.
So I'm just so when the first Bangalore Comedy Festival happened in Bangalore,
Yeah.
I was Biswa had moved to Bombay, and I was doing stand up regularly for about a year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah.
I performed on a lineup with Sanjay Manaktala, Satish Perumal, Biswa Kalyan, and myself.
Okay.
And I had done the Bharatanatyam set there
Okay.
in front of 500, 600 people for the first time. My brother was in the crowd with my hobby.
Oh.
And I had one of the best 15-minute sets that I've ever had in my life.
Nice.
And Biswa Kalyan went up after me and he said, Shaku Chugani is so funny. And then when he came up to me, he said, dude, you might almost got a standing ovation. Great set.
Ah.
So then my brother told my parents, just let him do what he's doing. He knows what he's doing. Just I saw because my brother also was a fan
Wow.
of Danish Day.
Oh yeah.
I happened to meet Danish because he also does improv, and he was like, "Hey man, you're very funny. I saw what you did, great stuff." And I was speak to him like he's an experienced guy in the same field, and I was a new guy. But
Yeah.
I wasn't like fanboying. I was like, "Man, I think you're hilarious," and I was just talking to him. And my brother was like, "You're talking to Danish Seth? Like he's like you know him?" I'm all like, "Yeah, man." Chill." He's like, then my brother was baffled. And then as I kept going and started meeting bigger and bigger and bigger people, he was just like,
Oh
was like,
man.
so he helped my parents understand to let me be, not me get me married right now, just let him just stand up.
Amazing.
And that's how it changed.
Wow. That's nice. I will definitely tell my brother to watch these minutes, my elder brother. And I'll tell him to tell my parents the same thing. Let him do YouTube because he's been doing it with good people.
If I
Popular
can,
names.
I will send you a list of stand-up specials that I have been collecting the
Yeah.
names of specials. Right now, that list is at about 1,021 specials. So I haven't watched all of them, but
Wow.
they're just 1,000.
Send me those. I need to watch stand up online because that's the only way I'm getting any funnier. Yeah. So thank you so much. We'll talk off off recording a little bit. So let me just end it here. Thank you so much for being here, Shankar. It was like these 1.5 hours were so I think full of teachings for me. I learned so much from you, and thank you so much for being here.
Good luck,
and
man. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, and people, if you like this, like the video, share it as much as possible, and subscribe. 3 magical words of a YouTube simp. I'll say this after at the end of every podcast. Okay, so it's free. Do it and hit the bell icon if you want regular updates on my channel. And Couch Potato signing out. Thank you for being here.